two, three. Okay, buenos dias. Good morning. So it's me, it's Pablo, and this is a new program. Let's talk about Christianity. And yes, Sat, good morning.
Good morning. Two things. This is not a new program. We've been going for 3 years now, Keith. Is that how long we've been going?
Sorry, it's mine.
It's okay. It's okay, Pablo. I like to pick on people's intros. It's my thing.
Okay.
It's what I contribute to the podcast.
That's good.
The voice was great, though. Your voice was fantastic. It was a lot better than Keith's. It was a lot better than Keith's voice last week when he introduced the program.
Okay, and we have
Your intro's better.
A new visitor this morning, or a new partner.
We do.
Okay, Keith.
Oh yeah.
You mind to introduce him, please?
Yeah, Spencer Furby is with us from Valley View in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And he's here at Shady Acres this week conducting a gospel meeting. And so we drug him onto the program this morning.
It's really my encore appearance. I've been here once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Spencer. Good to see you.
People wrote in and said they wanted me back, didn't they?
Yes.
We had a lot of fan feedback.
Spencer, you were with us a year ago.
Right.
A year
probably
ago. A year
almost.
ago.
Yeah, almost to the week probably, because I remember it being around this time of year.
I started to look it up and see what the date was, but it was a year ago. So we'll just go with that. But here
I even remember the topic that we did.
I do want to look it up and see when it was, but
I remember the topic that we did. Do you remember the topic, Spencer?
Yes.
Making what was it? It was making God into man's own image.
Right.
That was the title of the podcast. It was a really good episode.
Really good. I'd forgotten that I'd remembered that.
It was a fantastic episode. In fact, I think we did get a little bit of feedback from that one because people enjoyed it so much.
I think there were like 5 sermons that I got from you guys that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I preached a sermon on that as well. So I mean, it was fantastic. We have a lot of listeners. Our listeners are silent. They don't talk. We don't get any feedback from them. We don't know they're there, but we know Keith, Pablo, and I. We know they're there.
Yes.
We know we have listeners.
Yes.
Yeah. Pablo, how are you today?
Part of my body is good. Some part of my body is not good.
Pablo has tendonitis in his foot.
Poor Pablo. Poor Pablo.
Right foot.
Poor Pablo.
Yeah, so
we don't have more.
I cannot practice soccer on weekends.
It's a big thing for Pablo not to be able to play soccer. He loves soccer.
But you know, I bet the ratings would increase if you could do a miracle healing through this program.
I
bet you.
I bet they would. They would. You want to know what's funny is that this says that it was recorded on October 23rd of last year.
This is weird.
Well, we must have done it on a Tuesday last year instead of a Wednesday. Yeah,
that's right.
So it was 1 year ago today.
Wow.
And here's what I was actually looking at.
Fun facts.
It was episode number 63 overall.
Oof,
oh, wow.
Close to 66.
Today is number 112.
And I remember the setting of that episode, too. Keith and Spencer were in a nursery.
In the nursery.
We were in the nursery. Yes, we were. But
he didn't even take Spencer into a nice room. He just took him into the nursery.
I don't remember why we ended up in the nursery, but
Well, this room wasn't finished yet.
Spencer won't say it on the program, but I bet he remembers why you were in the nursery because he's just not the nicest to people when they visit. Just not the nicest.
Yeah, Spencer was talking about how when you travel, a lot of times you're treated very well, exceptional hospitality. I think you even used the word royalty.
Royalty.
Royal.
Wrong diction.
And then there's going to Sykeston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that Keith guy. Man. He'll throw you under the bus. Oh, goodness.
But I got to tell you this. There were a group of us that went to Bo's for lunch yesterday, and we sat around for about an hour and a half just telling stories and just fellowshipping and enjoying being with one another. And Spencer got up to preach last night, and he said, yeah, there were a bunch of us went to Bose, and every one of us who were there went, oh no, what's he going to tell? And then you left us all hanging. Thankfully.
Yeah. Don't tell the stories that are told during fellowship meals.
What happens at Bose needs to stay at Bose.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, so Pablo, other than tendonitis and a new haircut, what's going on in Lima?
Yes, it's a new haircut. Yes.
Looks good, Pablo. Looks very good.
I like it, Pablo.
You better get it. You better get it freshly cut when I see you here in about a month and a half.
Okay, we hope.
Yeah.
This Saturday we are gonna have the meeting with some of the leaders in Lima churches, getting ready for the lectureships in December.
Yeah.
So we already get the list of the speakers, the topic. So we're gonna put 3 more Peruvians on the list. So
very good.
We will decide who is going to speak. No. On
I got my topic.
I was going to say, schedule someone else for 4:00 on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Replace the speaker at 4:00 on Friday.
You don't even have to be with him, Spencer, for him to be mean to you. You don't even have to be with him. You can be talking to him over Zoom, and he'll be mean to you.
Who is 4 p.m. Friday?
Yeah, Zach. Who is 4 p.m.
on
Friday?
I think is it not me? Yeah, it's me. The braveness of the youth to go beyond the frontier. I'm excited about it. Oh. Everybody always, I've gotten this reaction, I don't know how many times. They ask me, what do you do? I'm a gospel preacher. How old are you? I'm 22. Wow, that's pretty young. That's what they always say. That's pretty young. So, I'm excited.
So that's it. What's going on everything around me? No, the church in Callao. Awesome. Oh man, this last Sunday, we were looking for more seats. There were people standing. Cool. Yes, and we have 2 families missing this Sunday, and we were like, oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Spencer, Callao, where Pablo worships, they. You were in the same building for how many years?
8 years.
8 years, and they outgrew it, and so they found another building, and now they are already after 4 months or something like that.
It's going to be about a year, 9 months, 8 months. We are now 8 months.
Yeah, what I said, 8 months. They're already running out of space, and they're. They've got good problems.
What a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very nice problem. So that's it in Callao.
So every 9 months you'll give birth to a new location?
That's the goal. Okay. Like that's the goal.
I would love to have that problem.
Yeah. I think every congregation would love to have that problem.
We were fixing that problem just purchasing that building, that whole building. I mean, that would be cool. We are talking about it, but now we are handling the members in the morning, and we're doing good. We're doing good. So if you have the chance to come to Peru, Spencer, next year, I mean, I know you will, but if there is one Sunday that you will come
I would
to Callao, okay? You will see Callao on Sunday, no? When you'll be there.
If there's a catch though, Spencer, if you go, you got to preach. You have to preach. That's the catch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the catch.
So, that's it.
You got to preach.
Not in Spanish though.
Yeah.
No, Portuguese? No.
Do you think we can make it through 2 more points today, Keith? I think we.
We probably can. So anyway, actually talking about the subject material. Last week we started talking about some subtle marks of those who are God's children. And these are just things that people who are God's children just naturally do. And we talked about speech, and we talked about servitude, and we sort of alluded to the third point on the outline last week, but just talking about those who are humble in their nature, in their service, in their worship. And, you know, when you start talking about humility, what's always the question that comes to mind, Spencer?
When it comes to mind to humility.
Yes. How do I know I'm humble?
Good question.
Yeah. That's the one you were thinking of.
He's like, oh man, I need to warm up.
Well, if I say that I'm humble, am I really humble?
Moses could say that of himself. So
well, Moses said he was meek. You know, same kind of thing, but you know, but so when we talk about humility in our service to God, because that's really what we are talking about. You know, it's like all of these other things that we're talking about. It's got to be a lifestyle of humility, and self-proclaimed humility doesn't go over very well.
I was thinking about the number one complaint of every preacher in the brotherhood. You know what the number one complaint would be?
It's either the lighting or the air conditioning.
Well, yeah, those are the But if we're talking about the congregation as a whole, the number one complaint of every gospel preacher, I would say, would probably be for the members to just do things and not have to be asked to do them. Just take it upon themselves and do it. Make it a lifestyle, like you're talking about, Keith, and just do it. We don't have to ask you to do it. We don't have to beg you to do it. Just go do it. And I think, you know, every congregation would benefit. It would become a lot more healthier if its members would just go and do things and do them in a humble way. Even though people may never find out about it, it needs to be done. And if you see a need that needs to be fulfilled, go fulfill that need.
Yeah. What you say?
Well, to sum up that point, there we go. Okay, moving on to the next one.
Oh, we're already at the next point. Okay, all right. So the fourth point, and I alliterated all of these. Number one was seasoned speech. Number two, sacrificing servant. Number three, the one we just talked about, solidly simple. And then number four, singly storing. Now, on that point,
singly storing.
A lot of times we don't know where Keith's going. He kind of has to lead us there.
Yeah,
he's got to take us down. He's got to take us through the trail that he's paid for himself. Okay, Keith.
Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But do what?
Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven.
Now,
neither moth nor rust destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your heart is,
treasure is.
Wherever your treasure is, there your heart will be.
Treasure.
Misquoted a verse.
So anyway, here's where I was going with that, just so you know, so I don't have to keep you guessing. I have encountered a few people in my life, very few people, who really had no worldly inclination whatsoever. Very few people. But you know, I've been in some you know, really affluent areas, and I've been in some areas where poverty was almost beyond description. And one thing that I have found to be true is that people are the same. And it really doesn't matter their background. It doesn't matter their accent or their language. Because, you know, you may not be able to tell it, Spencer, but Pablo's got a little bit of an accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of Peruvian.
Yeah, kind of.
Very good observation.
Can't get anything by you. But people are the same. And we all struggle with those avenues of temptation that John described in 1 John 2, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And even the ones who don't have anything materially and really don't have any expectation of anything materially still understand materialism. And those who are truly God's children, though, are not going to let materialism stand in their way of serving God. You are going to be able to look at their lives and know that the material things of this life are not what is truly important to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was going with that. Now, Pablo could probably give us some interesting psychological. I love it. I got Pablo to roll his eyes. My day is complete. But
if Spencer doesn't have anything, I have something. I guess we could
go ahead, get this out.
Spencer, have something, please.
1 Timothy 2, verse 3. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be what? All men to be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. And when I think about people are the same, I think about how and members of the church often look at people in different lights. Sometimes we look at somebody on the street who may have a drug addiction, or maybe somebody who's in prison who's been convicted of crime, and sometimes sinfully, I think we look at that person, we think they don't really deserve salvation because of what they've done. And when I think about looking at people in the same light, looking at people as the same, we're all made in the image of God. We are imprinted with that image. We all have a soul, and that soul in God's eyes needs to be saved. And we need to start looking at people equally instead of differently. And we need to look people equally because all need to come to the knowledge of the truth. We need to help them come to salvation. And I think about congregations who put a lot of effort into missions in the world, right? You have a lot of congregations, like we support a lot in Peru, Pablo. We come to Peru and we do a lot of mission work there, and that's fantastic. That's awesome. And congregations need to do that. More congregations need to do that. But I also think, how many times do we neglect to go next door?
Yeah.
How many times do we neglect to talk to a friend or an enemy about Jesus Christ and helping them maybe start a Bible study and come to the knowledge?
I'll disagree with you a little bit, Zach.
Okay.
Surprise you, does it?
No.
I don't think
you always disagree with me.
I don't think that we so much look at those individuals that you were describing as not being worthy of salvation. I think we look at those individuals and say they're going to be worthy of salvation when they become like me.
Ooh, that's a good. I don't know if that's a disagreement or if that's just a great point from what I said. I think that's a great point. We do. We want everybody to be like us. They're struggling. They don't need to. Just be like us. Do what we do, and you won't have any more problems. You'll be fine. You'll go on your merry way. And I think that's the wrong perspective to have a lot of times. But we do have it from time to time.
But it's a very common perception.
Yeah.
Word I was looking for.
That's a good word.
Perception.
And it's one that I think that we really struggle with. And again, I don't think it matters who we are. We want others to be like we are. Mm-hmm. And we sort of view that as a prerequisite of sorts to fellowshipping with them.
Yes.
And I think that is, I don't know exactly how true that is in Peru. Is that true in Peru?
Sometimes.
But we've kind of got to get over ourselves.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Spencer, you got anything to add about this?
You were being conspicuously silent over there.
He's waiting to pounce, Keith, on something that you say, and he's going to ruin you.
Personally, I'm going to agree with both of you.
Okay.
It's going to be. I don't look at those people and say, they're not worthy of salvation, because I believe what you said, and every Christian does. Everybody needs to. And it's not that I think they need to become like me. It's that I know what they need, but I have no idea how to convince them of that, given where they are. I don't know even where to start. That guy who's that drug abuser, and he definitely needs it or whatever, and I see him, how do I start that process of introducing him to the truth? I mean, I don't know how to reason with him. I don't know how to even tell the story. And so out of fear of not knowing, I just don't do it. It has nothing to do really with a judgment of him, except for the fact that we come from different backgrounds, and I don't know how to reach you. And you also have those verses about don't cast your pearls before swine. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, so there's sometimes you keep it to yourself because this is not the situation where it will be most honorable. So I'm a really confused person about how to do all that. And I think I go to the opposite extreme of never doing it at all.
I don't think you're alone in that.
No,
it's a confusing thing. And
it's very difficult to relate. And the more we can relate to somebody, the easier it becomes to introduce them to the truth. Absolutely. But if we can't relate to someone, if we can't relate to what they're going through, the situation that they find themselves in, the problems that they're experiencing, it is very difficult for us to take that step to begin to introduce them to the truth. I'll give you a prime example. It was right before worship services. We had a guy standing in by the annex building. There's the annex building's directly behind the church building, and this guy was charging his phone. And I walked back there and I said good morning and things of that sort. And I walked in there to get a water because the refrigerators and stuff are in there. So I walked in there to get a water. I brought him back one, and I reached it to him. And when I reached it to him, I saw his arm. He had track marks on his arm. And I said, why don't you come into worship this morning? I said, all you got to do is go through this door right here. And I said, I'll walk in there with you. Why don't you come into worship and we'll worship God together in spirit and in truth? And he said, I may come here in just a minute. I never saw him again. But taking that step just to invite him, and it feels bad to say, but taking that step just to invite him, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And it's because I could not relate to him. I could not relate to the situation that he was in. I didn't know if he was going to cause harm to other people, even to himself. And it's very difficult to take that step when you can't relate to someone.
Yeah, we think of interpersonal evangelism, or what we used to call friendship evangelism, and people always come up with a connection before we start talking about gospel, right? Well, there's some people I have no idea how to make that connection in the first place. And so what do you do?
And see, that goes back to the point that I was making that you disagreed with. We want them to be like us.
That's a different way of saying the same thing.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. But we wish they were more like us so that we could make those connections.
And I don't think we're saying that as because I'm the ideal Christian. I think we're just saying it's the only way I know how to share what I know that you need and want to share with you. Let's make that connection.
Very good points on that one.
I got an article which I've not posted on the blog, but Zach cannot criticize me for not having posted it on the blog because he's not posted one on the blog in how many months?
I've got a lot too. I just haven't posted them. I mean, I got a bunch. So
you just need to record what you say at night and put it on.
Yeah. That's what I'll do.
Miranda, can you help us out with that?
Yeah.
Catch little bits of Zach talking in his sleep and
I'll get an audio file that you download there.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. I do. And I called my mom the very next day and I said, Mom, did I talk in my sleep? She said, yeah, when you're really stressed, you do. I said,
so
marriage is stressful.
Marriage is stressful.
Okay, so
just
for a little background there, before we started recording, Spencer asked Zach what he had learned from his 6 weeks of marriage or whatever it's been.
And 3 big things: I snore, I talk in my sleep, and I'm always wrong. Those are the 3 big things that I've learned in America.
Ooh, I snore too.
But I've talked in my sleep. I woke up, I raised up in the middle of the bed, and I said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. I now pronounce you husband and wife. I do. And Miranda had to grab me by the arm and pulled me back down into the bed because she said it was just like you were awake. Your eyes were open and everything. She was very freaked out. She was very freaked out. But her dad said no refunds. So great times. Can we make it through this last point? Do we have time?
We have time. We do. We've got two minutes left here. We need to finish this out. Last point is sincerely sympathetic. That's a quality that you're going to see in God's children, that of someone who just makes that a part of their lives, and they're not making a show of it. They are genuinely concerned about others, no matter what the situation might be. And Peter wrote in 1 Peter 3 and verses 8 and 9, finally, all of you be of one mind, having compassion for one another, love as brothers, Peter said. Be tenderhearted, be courteous, not returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing. So that was the 5th point that I had regarding those subtle marks of those who are God's children. And I emphasize again, as I did at the beginning of last week's episode, these are just some random characteristics, that they're not this is not an exhaustive list.
There are so many subtle marks of Christians that we demonstrate each and every single day, whether we're in public, whether we're in private, whether with our families, whether with our wives, whether we're with friends, whoever we're with. There's subtle qualities that we demonstrate each and every single day that let others know that we're Christians and further our influence for Christ in this life. And it shines our light brighter in the world that we live in that's becoming a lot more darker.
I'm going to issue a challenge on this last point. It's just part of our nature. When we see other people, we say, how are you? Or how you doing? Or, something along those lines. And really, we're not asking the question. We're simply using that as a form of greeting. I want to challenge you to ask the question and then to listen to the response.
Yeah.
Whether it is the waitress at the restaurant when you go to eat lunch, or the door greeter at Walmart or Food City, listen to the response. And
I think the best way to do that is look at them expecting an answer. How are you? Keep your eye on them, because you're saying, I'm ready to receive what you're about to say. I want to know really an answer. Because when you're at the nursing home with somebody who's just going through difficulty, and you really want to know what they're saying. So if you're saying to that person in the line and you're paying for your food, and you say, well, how are you? And you keep your eye on them like you're expecting an answer. That kind of. But Christians of all people know why things happen. It's because of a fallen world and sin. And because of that, we know people are victims of it. Everybody is. And we should be the most sympathetic people on earth, because we know what happened and we know why it happened. And we know that there's a solution for help.
I was going to say, we know the solution too. And that goes back to all of our other points.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to cut us off here, but we're down to about 30 seconds. But I'm going to throw this out. Every person you meet is going through some kind of struggle.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
And there may be your opening. You may find an opening to introduce them to the gospel of Jesus Christ through.
And maybe even insert that I'll be praying for you about this. And that resonates with people today too.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We got to get out of here. We're running out of time rapidly. We want to thank you for listening. Spencer, thank you for coming.
See you next
year. Spencer. Thanks for coming.
See you next year on the same day.
It'll be a Thursday. No, it may be a Friday next year.
Leap year, isn't it?
Yeah, leap year. So anyway, on behalf of the staff of Let's Talk About Christianity, we thank you for listening. our unnamed staff because we
I'm president and CEO.
Yeah.
Credit should roll.
Right.
And the pretty face
Part
of the staff.
Pablo's our mom with exotic skin, as he would tell you. Yeah.
On that note, we have to go. So, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.